Second lecture on PSIR answer writing module 2013 model answer test 2. So the first question is, inspired by philosophy, Hannah Arendt warned against the dangers of philosophy obscuring the plurality and reality of our shared world. Okay, comment. So Hannah Arendt is mainly associated with his work Human Condition, where she highlights how the contemporary development are happening and they are obscuring the plurality and reality of our shared world in the philosophy. Okay, so Hannah Arendt, first paragraph, perhaps the only woman scholar recognized as philosopher. So in Western political thought, she is the only woman scholar. Okay, she has that kind of distinction. No, okay, she was involved in the study of philosophy. Okay, she studied philosophy and realized that philosophy has ignored the contemporary development happening around her. Okay, so now she has studied philosophy and realized that philosophy ignored the contemporary development happening around her. What were the contemporary development? That is the rise of totalitarian regime earlier under Hitler and Mussolini, but during her time there was also rise of totalitarian authority of orthodox Marxists, that is Astval Sar. Now she witnessed totalitarianism and discusses the reason for the rise of totalitarianism and also the solution for the avoidance of such totalitarian state. Okay, now to she witnessed totalitarianism because she was Jews. So Hannah, the next is, according to Hannah, one of the factor of development of totalitarian state has been the philosophy or the Western intellectual tradition, starting with Plato. So Hannah Arendt, what she says, that one of the factor for the development of totalitarian state has been the philosophy or the Western intellectual tradition, starting with Plato. What we can find? What are the totalitarian trend we find? The institution of philosopher king, a state ruled by one person. Okay, so Plato's philosophy has totalitarian trends as he went into isolation that led to imagination about perfectibility. Okay, so he considered philosopher king to be perfect to rule. She described Plato's life as life of contemplation. Okay, so Plato was an idealist who considered contemplation to be more important. Okay, so she believes life of action is superior to contemplation. Okay, so action is more important than contemplation. The trend of philosophy which started with Plato was continued even after Enlightenment. Okay, the trend of philosophy which started with the Plato was continued even after Enlightenment. Okay, the trend has not disappeared with the entire Enlightenment. Okay, the place of philosophy was taken over by the science. Okay, the place of philosophy. So in the era of Enlightenment, okay, philosophy was overtaken by science. Science claims to know the law of nature and control nature. Okay, contributing to the rise of totalitarianism. Okay, so science claims to know the law of nature and control nature, contributing to rise of totalitarianism. Okay, so science claims to know the laws of nature and control nature, so contributing to the rise of totalitarianism. Okay, through her theory of action, Hannah Arendt establishes the most important action as participation in the public sphere. Okay, so here comes the concept of civic republicanism. Okay, participation is a human condition according to her. Okay, participation in the affairs of city state is human condition. Okay, so she establishes the most important action as participation in public sphere. If labor, does not give any freedom. Work gives partial freedom. Only action can give complete freedom. Okay, if you are labor or your labor does not give any freedom, work gives partial freedom. Okay, and only action can give complete freedom. Action means participation in the affairs of civil matter. Okay, freedom is the ability to do something new. Okay, what is freedom? According to her, freedom is ability to do something new. That is the concept of natality. Every new birth is, an opportunity for natality. Okay, so what she says, freedom is the ability to do something new. It is only possible in the state of plurality and equality. Okay, when freedom is possible where? In the state of plurality and equality, because in the society or in the state, men not man lives. Okay, men not man live, which means collectivity is more important. Okay, so now only when people come together, power emerges. So when power emerges when people come together. It is people's power that can counter totalitarianism. Okay, and people's power is kind of counter to totalitarianism. According to Hannah Arendt, there is no point bothering about metaphysical abstractions which cannot be perceived by human beings. Okay, so she says that there is no point in delving deep into the metaphysical abstraction because they cannot be perceived by human beings. Okay, now reality consists of object and event as they are perceived or understood in the human consciousness. Okay, so in this by this statement she was to convey that reality consists of object and event as they are perceived or understood in the human consciousness. Okay, so things which can be understood by human experience. Her methodology is also, that is phenomenology, is based on human experience. Her methodology, that is phenomenology, is something which is based on experience. Okay, there is no relevant reality beyond our experience. Okay, the things which cannot be experienced, there is no reality. What Plato says, there is perfection in the world of ideas. However, for Hannah Arendt, things which are not which cannot be experienced have no reality. Okay, in fact, Hannah Arendt sees the conceptual core of traditional political philosophy as an impediment to human development. Okay, so she sees the conceptual core of traditional political philosophy as an impediment to human development. Emphasizing on political philosophy will distort the phenomenal core of experience by imposing upon it the lenses of its own prejudices. Okay, so if we would be going with the political philosophy, it will distort what? Phenomenal core of experience. By how? By imposing upon it the lenses of our own prejudices. If we go with the political philosophy, we would be driven by our own prejudices. Okay, that will destroy what? Phenomenal core of experience. Okay, in her book The Promise of Politics, written in 2005. Okay, The Promise of Politics, Hannah Arendt examined the conflict between philosophy and politics. Okay, so in her book Promise of Politics, she examined the conflict between philosophy and politics. In particular, she shows how the tradition of Western political thought failed to account for human action. Okay, so the most important thing, that is, she shows the tradition of Western political thought failed to account for human action. Okay, what Western political thought focused upon? It focused upon contemplation, not human action. When politics is considered as means to when politics is considered as means to an end that lies outside of itself, argues Hannah Arendt. When force is used to create freedom, the very existence of political principle is impaired. Okay, so when force is used to create freedom, when you know what some scholars like, you know for example, what Rousseau said. Rousseau said, man should be forced to free. Okay, so that is when force is used to create freedom, the very existence of political principle is imperiled. Okay. On the one hand, she rejected the usage of traditional philosophical method to study politics, and on the other, she embraced phenomenology as a tool to inquire into the nature of political principle. So, on one hand, she rejected the use of traditional philosophical method to study politics, and on the other hand, she embraced phenomenology as a tool to inquire into the nature of political principle. Okay. Now, what is phenomenology? So, phenomenology to her was a study of experience and of how we experience. A study of experience and of how we experience. Hannah Arendt's approach of phenomenology emerged from her introductory remark to the human condition. Okay, what he says in human condition, what I propose is very simple. It is to think what we are doing. What she says, what I propose is very simple. That is, it is think what we are doing. Okay. Thus, for Hannah Arendt, experiences remain the true and the only reliable teacher of political scientists, as they are the most trustworthy source of information for those engaged in politics. So, experiences, her methodology of phenomenology is what? Based on experiences. So, what she thinks? She thinks that experiences remain the true and only reliable teacher of political sciences, as they are most trustworthy source of information for those who are engaged in politics. If you are engaged in politics, you should be driven by your experiences, not the ideologies, not the preconceived notions, okay, which are which can be based on some negative outcomes. Okay, so your experience is most important for Hannah Arendt. Any research should remain bound to experience, as circle is to its center. So any research should remain bound to experience. Okay, any research should be based on experience, as circle is to its center. Okay, as circle is is driven by its center, so is the research. Okay, so should be driven by experience. Okay, her emphasis on political action as a way to deal with totalitarianism is relevant more than ever, especially with the rise of information societies. Okay, so political action is most important to deal with totalitarianism in the age of information society. That is what I want to convey. Okay, so the next question, that is, politics is the place and activity of shared communication based on distinct perspective of equal human beings. Hannah Arendt discuss. We need to discuss here. Shared communication activity of is the place and activity of shared communication. What Hannah Arendt says? Hannah Arendt says that power comes when people get united, and it destroys or it is lost when they disperse. So that is what a place and activity of shared communication and distinct perspective to equal human being. Okay, now what would be introduction? So Hannah Arendt faced the gruesome experience of totalitarian state under Nazi Germany and made a case for resisting such a state of affair in the future. Okay, so she was brought up in the Nazi Germany, and she had first-hand experience of the rule of Nazi Germany, and she later on, when somehow he went to America, and from there he made a case. Okay, he made a case in the sense that she lauded her voice against these kind of atrocities which were happening during her time. Okay, she linked the development of totalitarian state with ignorance of political sphere by people, and advocate that politics needs to be at the forefront of development of human beings as free and equals. Okay, So she said that people have ignored political sphere. Okay, that is why there is a rise of totalitarian state. What she said, that Jews were so much get involved themselves into the economic sphere that they had no time to have active participation in civic affairs. What happened? What was the result of that? They kind of lost their unity and has given way to totalitarian state. Okay, so what she says, politics needs to be at the forefront of development of human being as the end equal. She describes totalitarianism as the crisis of 20th century. So what was totalitarianism? Totalitarianism was the crisis of 20th century. Okay, she stated totalitarian politics as the end of class politics and start of mass politics. Okay, when totalitarian politics is what? Totalitarian politics is end of class politics and start of mass politics. So class politics is what? Class politics is advocated by Marxist, and mass politics, that is the majoritarianism. Now she described human condition as plurality and equality. Okay, so human condition is also her work in which she says that human condition is one in which there is plurality. Plurality means there is diversity of thoughts and people are equal. For example, in the Nazi Germany, Jews were considered secondary citizens. So that is what she is talking about, equality and plurality. Plurality means you have there is recognition of different thoughts, different kind of way of life. Okay, in totalitarian condition, people ignore the political sphere and are absorbed in economic sphere. What I was telling that Jews then get themselves involved so much in the economic sphere that they ignore political sphere. What happened? Led to totalitarian state. Okay, in totalitarian condition, people ignore political sphere and are absorbed in economic sphere. Thus we allow state to take control over public sphere, that is the state become totalitarian in nature, which has which give way to state to become totalitarian in nature. In order to fight totalitarianism, we need to revive political sphere. Okay, so revival of political sphere is advocated by Hannah Arendt in order to fight totalitarianism. Okay, she suggested that politics is the place and activity of shared communication. Politics is the place and activity of shared communication. How? She shows her view that police emerges when people come together. It disappears when people go back to their personal sphere. Okay, police. Okay, so police emerges when emerges when people come together, and it disappears when people goes back to their personal sphere. Okay, out of all action, the most important action is political action. Okay, in earlier question we are also discussed how she consider political action to be the most important action out of all action, that is the labor and work. Okay, we describe action as speech. Now when people come together in the state of plurality and equality, they realize the human condition. Okay, now this is the kind of repetition of the same matter, that is when people come together in the state of plurality and equality, they realize the human condition. Okay, Hannah Arendt view on politics coincide with the urge for freedom. Okay, in this sense, politics refers to that sphere of life where human beings live together, act together, or even fight together with a view to gain the joyous experience of being free. Okay, so politics is kind of a sphere of life where people live together, act together, or even if they fight for any cause. For example, they fight for injustice. So there is a cause, but their cause is to get something new. They get their rights fulfilled. So joyous experience, it would be joyous experience of being free, because when we fight in the way that we are expressing our views and we are not restrained by state machinery, it is kind of joyous experience of being free. Freedom is essence of political life. Okay, freedom is essence of political life. If you do not have freedom, particularly in political life, you cannot have anything, because without freedom action would deteriorate into behavior and speech. Okay, action would deteriorate into behavior, okay, and speech would degenerate into rhetoric. Okay, so without freedom action would deteriorate into behavior and speech would deteriorate into rhetorics. Okay, in other words, where people are not enlivened by spirit of freedom, each individual would be pursuing self-interest through his speech and action rather than public interest. Okay, so when there is no spirit of freedom, okay, where people do not live with the spirit of freedom, each individual will pursue his self-interest through his speech and action. So speech will become rhetoric and action would become behavior, okay, rather than public interest. That is, they are driven by self-interest, not public interest. Okay, so they want to light up their politics and through their rhetorics. Okay, in Hannah Arendt's view, genuine political life consists in interaction and communication of free and equal person. Okay, so next view is genuine political life consists in interaction and communication of free and equal persons. Okay, when free, they tend to create a public space that cannot be generated in any other way. Okay, when people are free, they create a public place that cannot be created in other way. Okay, you cannot be live in a public space which is free of kind of any coercion in any regime, but in democracy. Okay, because democracy gives us freedom. Acting freely in public space usher into political action that is conducive to working miracles. Okay, so when you freely work in public sphere, you usher in kind of political action that is participation where participation in the affairs of state, and it creates working miracles. Why? Because when a common man or we as an individual involved in the affairs of states, the outcome would be different, would be in the interest of public, not self-interest. Thus, Hannah Arendt has re-emphasized the superiority of political sphere over economic sphere. Okay, so she re-emphasized the superiority of political sphere over economic sphere. So her advice was that we should not be so much involve ourselves into economic sphere that we ignore political sphere. There should be coexistence of economic sphere and political sphere. We can trace the idea of participatory and deliberative democracy from her work, that is increasingly becoming relevant in contemporary world facing the my rights challenges. Okay, so in her works or in her ideas, we can find participatory and deliberative democracy. Okay, so Hannah Arendt is a thinker which can be quoted in questions related to democracy also. Okay, so now relevant in contemporary world facing various challenges. Okay, now the third question is Gramsci. So Gramsci saw capitalist state as being made up of two overlapping spheres, a political society and a civil society. Is elucidate. Okay, so what should be our first paragraph? That is, Gramsci is known to have brought new light to the theory of Marxism and drive it towards finding answer for its failure of producing effective revolution. Okay, so Gramsci was very much concerned that what led to Marxist theory could not produce revolution. Okay, what were the conditions that did not facilitated the revolution? Okay, so brought light to the theory of Marxism and drive it towards finding answer for its failure of producing effective revolution. So Benedetto Crosso's work on culture had an imprint on the minds of Gramsci. Okay, so Gramsci's idea are very much influenced by Benito Crusoe's work on culture. Okay, he gave the concept of superstructure and hegemony. Okay, thereby defining history beyond the crude economic deterministic principle as has been explained by Marx. What Marx says? Marx says, economic structure is the basic structure. However, when Marx says that economic structure is basic structure, see, Marx has ignored the importance of superstructure. However, Gramsci, who has focused on the concept of superstructure and hegemony, okay, has rescued Marx theory to become pure crude economic deterministic principle. Okay, now Gramsci is called a theoretician of superstructure. Okay, as explained, society has base and superstructure, where economic structure is part of base. Okay, so society has what? Base and superstructure, where economic structure is part of base. Okay, so that is the base and that is the superstructure, and economy is part of basic structure. Okay, whereas state, educational institutions and church constitute to become the superstructure. Okay, then superstructure we can have state, we can have church, and we can have educational institutions. All these constitute to become superstructure. For Marx, superstructure is the reflection of base. Okay, so what Marx says? Marx says that superstructure is the reflection of base. Okay, the class which controls the economic structure also controls the superstructure. However, Gramsci has different point of view. What Gramsci says? Gramsci puts more emphasis on superstructure. Okay, and finds it more challenging than fighting to change the base. Okay, so finds it more challenging than fighting to change the base, because through revolution or anything you can change the economic structure. Okay, relationship of production. However, you cannot change superstructure, which is based on hegemonic ideas, which is based on voluntary kind of things. So it is very difficult to break the cycles, break the mind of any individual who is inspired by the superstructure, the ideas of elite class. Okay, Gramsci's structure of society also undertakes economic structure at the base. Okay, so for Gramsci there is no denial that in the base there is economic structure. Okay, base is constituted by economic structure. Okay, then civil society, and after economic structure or base comes the civil society, which is constituted by church, media and educational institution in the middle of the layer. Okay, so here is base, in the middle layer civil society, and political society, that is the state at top and the political society at the top. Here both civil society and political society are considered as an integrated system, forming a state in determining the social and political structure. Okay, civil society and political society has been considered as an integrated system, forming the state in determining the social and political structure. Okay, Gramsci, like other Marxists, considers economic structure as the base, but also puts equal emphasis on defining superstructure as also an important structure of the model and not just a mere reflection of base. Okay, so for Gramsci, economic structure is basic structure. Okay, but he has put equal emphasis on defining superstructure as a important structure of the model, and it is not mere the reflection of base. Okay, it is something more than that. They have superstructure has its own independence. Okay, they are not subservient to the economic structure, or they are not mere reflection of economic structure. They have their own recognition. Okay, that is what he wanted to convey. Okay, as has been defined in book Prison Notebook, Gramsci defined state as a political society formed in the defense of collective sovereignty of territory and bureaucracy for effective implementation of law and order of the order and rule of law. Okay, so state is defined as political society, okay, formed in the defense of collective sovereignty of territory. The state protects the sovereignty of the territory and bureaucracy. Okay, state political societies, okay, it also consist of bureaucracy, which is to implement the laws and order and rule of law effectively. The state is seen as machinery of constant persecution and punishment in the name of constitutionally granted right to embrace law, order and protection of its citizen. Okay, so state is seen as a machinery of constant persecution and punishment in the name of constitutionally granted rights to embrace law, order and protection of its citizens. Okay, civil society is considered a sphere of hegemonic leadership, where hegemony is restored without use of force, but by hegemonic leadership and their action like public explanation, patriotism and generating obedience. Okay, so sphere of hegemonic leadership. Okay, civil society is what? Civil society is a sphere of hegemonic leadership, where hegemony is restored not through by force, but hegemonic leadership and their action. Okay, through rhetorics, through the ideas of patriotism and generating obedience. They have, civil society through medias and other platforms. They generate consent, manufacture consent in the favor of ruling class. How they, rhetorics like patriotism, okay, nationalism, they are rhetorics for Marxist. Okay, so they are something which generate consent in the favor of rulers. Okay, these activities done either in the sphere of political society or civil society are undertaken in the interest of furthering capitalist interest and thus impacting the functioning of state. Okay, these activities, that is to generate consent, manufacturing of consent, are done in the interest of capitalist. Okay, to further the interest of capitalist, they are done political society or civil society, what Gramsci said, but ultimately the manufacturing of consent is done by civil society. If civil society somehow fails to do its work, only then political society or state comes, okay, to take control over the things. Okay, hegemony is established at the site of civil society to establish acceptance. Okay, so hegemony hegemony is established. It is established at the site of civil society to establish acceptance for ruler, for those who rule. Okay, he defines intellectuals and their role as tool for maintaining the bourgeoisie hegemony. Okay, so intellectuals, bourgeoisie intellectuals, Hobbes, Locke, Mills, they are called bourgeoisie intellectuals. Okay, because they are, through their philosophies, through their theories, they are somehow furthering the interest of bourgeois class. Okay, so intellectuals and their role for maintaining the bourgeois hegemony, so they somehow further their interest. They kind of propagate to idealize the lifestyle of bourgeoisie. Okay, that is what they, through they kind of revolutionize, or they kind of picturize it as something very good. Okay, it is defined as a common sense, a tool used by civil society and intellectual as a soft power to generate the consent of people. Okay, it is defined as common sense is what? Hegemony, a tool used by civil society and intellectual as a soft power to generate consent of people. Okay, why soft power is necessary? Because it creates kind of good things. Thereby Gramsci, infusing the concept of culture, introduced counter-hegemony for the overthrow of hegemonic leadership of bourgeois. Okay, thereby Gramsci, infusing the concept of culture, introduced counter-hegemony, okay, for overthrow of hegemonic leadership of bourgeois. Okay, counter-hegemony is advocated by Gramsci to overthrow the hegemonic leadership of bourgeoisie. Gramsci gave two-way power to subaltern by providing a way out to escape the vicious cycle of bourgeoisie domination. What are the two-way power to subaltern? First, establish war of position against the civil society to establish counter-hegemony, which has dominance of the working class against the hegemony of capitalist or any other ill prevailing. Okay, so first of all, you have to fight war of position. First thing, in war of position, you will establish counter hegemony. Okay, you will have your own set of intellectuals who will propagate or manufacture consent in your interest. So that is the war of position. Gandhi's, later on we will discuss Gandhi, how he has been fighting on war of position, on the front of war of position and war of maneuver. Okay, as it is suggested to keep the war of position as a protected war. Okay, but why it will be protected war? Because to consent, to manufacture consent in your own interest, it takes time, to have establish counter hegemony. For example, Gandhi and Phage, only after civil disobedience movement or 1930s onward, Gandhi was able to manufacture consent in his favor and establish counter hegemony, in the sense that people understand that British Raj is not working in their interest but for their own interest. Okay, that is why it will be protected war, after which it becomes comparatively easier to attack the state directly and capture it. Okay, that is the war of maneuver. Okay, first of all, we have to fight to establish counter hegemony. Once counter hegemony is established, there is easy to attack the state directly and capture it. That is the war of maneuver. Okay, Gramsci diversified the definition of capitalist state by intertwining it an integral state constituting political and civil society. Okay, capitalist state is what? Integral state which constitute political and civil society. Okay, both, hence revolutionizing conventional Marxism. Okay, thus this technical way out provided by Gramsci gave a new life to school of Marxism and gave hope in producing practical results keeping Marxism more pragmatic and effective. Okay, so ultimately it is said that Gramsci, through his ideas of base and superstructure and the idea of establishing a counter hegemony to war of position and war of maneuver, he has rescued Marx from being crude economic deterministic. Okay, economic determinism. For Gramsci gives us not the tool with which to solve the puzzle, but the means with which to ask the right kind of question. Stuart Hall, critically evaluate. Gramsci gives us not the tools with which to solve the puzzle. Puzzle of what? Is there any interaction of superstructure and base structure? Okay, what Marx says, yes, base is independent of superstructure and base is mere reflection of superstructure. So puzzle, but means with which to ask the right kind of question. We have to ask right kind of question. Okay, so as quoted by Herard Lasky, that every philosopher is the child of his time. Okay, it is certainly true for Gramsci, as he is a philosopher of New Age Marxism and a contemporary of Mussolini. Okay, so Gramsci was contemporary of Mussolini, and he was a philosopher of New Age Marxism. Okay, so he is considered as second most important thinker in the Marxism. Okay, political and social circumstances led Gramsci to ask questions which were seen as a revolution of its own type. Okay, so whatever question Gramsci asked through his political ideas, okay, through his political activities, they were revolution of its own type. Okay, they become revolution of its own type. Okay, that is what next. Gramsci is known as father of neo-Marxism school of thought. Okay, because he brought changes to the understanding of existing theory of Marx explained earlier. He made Marx more relevant for the contemporary set of problems emanating from the theory of Marxism, like leadership, governance, state, society, structure, and revolution. Okay, there is no need to define anything. Okay, Gramsci in his book Pigeon Notebook has given answer to the question those Gramsci in his book Pigeon Notebook has given answer to the question those revolutionized the idea of Marxism. Okay, what were the answers? Gramsci questions those ideas of Marx those have made Marxism insignificant to produce revolution. Okay, so Gramsci asked those questions as to why Marx interpretation and Marx kind of his forecast, why it is not able to produce revolution. His ideas were not able to produce revolution and unable to achieve his expected goal, unlike realism and liberalism. So realism and liberalism were able to further their ideas. Okay, capitalists were at their good state of affair. However, Marxists and their ideas were stagnating. So what was the reason? It has certainly helped him to develop a tool to produce effective tools to overthrow the bourgeoisie from the ruling. Okay, so it has certainly helped him to develop a tool to produce effective result to overthrow the bourgeoisie from ruling. Through this, he further questioned the basic idea of Marxist philosophy and tried to find ways to set away Marxism from the clutches of economic determinism by infusing the concept of hegemony and superstructure. Okay, so he wanted to free the Marxism from the clutches of economic determinism, and how he does so by introducing the concept of hegemony and superstructure. As inspired by Benedetto Crosso's theory on culture, Gramsci he provided a cultured analysis to the principle of Marxism by defining the concept of cultural hegemony. Okay, so he used Crosso's theory on culture as to how concept of cultural hegemony is able to restrict the revolution. Okay, further from the philosophy, Gramsci posed question to the ideal belief in the theory of Marxism. Ideal belief in the theory of Marxism that once base, that is, the economic structure is reformed and we move beyond the cycles of bourgeoisie control of production, and will eventually lead to a reformed superstructure, that is state. Okay, so one more time, that is, further from the philosophy, Gramsci posed question to the ideal belief in the theory of Marxism that once base, that is, the economic structure is reformed and we move beyond the cycles of bourgeoisie control of production, and will eventually lead to a reformed superstructure, that is state. Okay, here Gramsci reframed to suggest that superstructure is not the reflection of base, but is the structure in itself constituting political society and civil society, and thus considered them to be functioning in an intertwined manner as an integral state. Okay, the ineffectiveness of Marxism to produce result has remained the whole questions of all time. Okay, Karl Popper has criticized Marx after Marxist after Marx for making him God, and his idea of historical materialism as a science which proves to be unquestionable. Actually, Karl Popper has given the concept of Karl Popper has given the concept of historicism. Claiming them to be uncritical and ever examining theories for falsification. He has also given the concept of historicism and falsification. Theories which are not prone to questioning should not be considered good. Claiming them to be uncritical and ever examining theories of falsification by keeping the flag of Marxism right and high by all means. Okay, claiming them to be uncritical and ever examining theory for falsification by keeping the flag of Marxism right and high by all means. Okay, in order to imply Marxism, Lenin by inventing a communist party proves to be implementing Marxism than to question it. Okay, so Lenin by establishing communist party proves to be implementing Marxism than to question it. So Lenin did not question the Marxism, rather try to implement it. Where Gramsci went for deeper analysis, asked the unasked, whereby realizing the flaw that Marx has underestimated the role of culture in shaping the course of history. Gramsci's book Prison Notebook has tried to derive an answer by again putting a question to it. It is realized that there is a theory of revolution that leads to overthrow of a state that has no teeth and direction precisely. Okay, so Marx's theory of revolution has no teeth and direction precisely. Okay, Gramsci thought his theory of war of position and war of maneuver. Okay, through his theory of war and position and war of maneuver has tried to give direction and tools for developing counter hegemony to the existing theory of hegemony and overthrow of bourgeoisie structure of the state and society. So Marx's theory of revolution had no teeth and direction precisely. Okay, had no teeth and direction through which we can attain revolution. However, through his concept, Gramsci, through his concept of counter hegemony, war of position and war of maneuver, he has given teeth and direction to the revolution as to how overthrow the bourgeoisie structure. In India, Gandhian ideas of state governance and tools used in Indian national movement are seen as based on Gramscian ideas of state and society. Okay, the theory of Gramsci can be considered as a development on the existing theory of Marxism and help Marxism grow for better after Marx. Okay, now the next question is, religion is opium of masses. Marx, discuss. So friend, the next question is, religion is opium of masses. Marx, discuss. Okay, so Marx aimed at bringing revolution in the only way to end the exploitation. Okay, is the only way to end the exploitation. Okay, bringing revolution is the only way to end their exploitation. The revolution will come only when the working class will develop true conscience. Okay, so how would the revolution come? Revolution would come when working class would develop true consciousness, which will emerge only if the workers understand their condition objectively. Okay, so they have to understand their condition objectively. To quote Marx, it is not our consciousness that determines our existence, rather it is our existence which determines our consciousness. Okay, this is the most important quote. Okay, you have to remember it somehow. It is not our consciousness that determines our existence, rather it is our existence which determines our consciousness. Okay, we have to see the above statement in the context of his criticism of philosophers in general and Hegel in particular. Okay, so his statement that is, it is not our consciousness that determines our existence, rather it is our existence which determines our consciousness, should be seen in the context of his criticism of philosopher in general and Hegel in particular. He used to say that Hegel is standing on his head. He has to stand on his feet in order to correct him. Marx highlights the role of intellectuals which is against the interest of workers. Okay, roles of intellectuals which is against the interest of workers. In his book German Ideology, he declares ideas and ideologies as false consciousness. For him, religion is dangerous of all the illusions as it takes us completely away from reality. Religion takes us away completely from the reality. On the basis of his base and superstructure theory, he shows ideas and ideologies as part of superstructure. Okay, so ideas and ideologies are part of superstructure. The class which control the basic structure also control the superstructure. Okay, only when workers will develop true consciousness, class in itself will result into class for itself. Okay, in his book Thesis on Feuerbach, Marx suggests philosophers have only interpreted the word. What matters is how to change it. Okay, up till now philosophers have interpreted the word, but what matters is how to change the word. In his another book Communist Manifesto, he suggests workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. Okay, so the statement that the workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains comes in his work Communist Manifesto. The sixth question: Marxism consists of three ideas: theory of history, critique of capitalism, and a vision of ideal society. Evaluate. Okay, theory of history, his ideas of historical materialism. Okay, and critique of capitalism, kind of how he explained surplus value, concept of surplus value. Okay, and the vision of ideal society that is stateless and classless society. Okay, so Marxism is a doctrine chiefly developed by Karl Marx. Marx included ideas such as historical materialism, critique of capitalist society, philosophical anthropology, economic analysis, and his prediction of communist future. Okay, Marx held industrial revolution responsible for growth of capitalism. Okay, so he held that industrial revolution is responsible for growth of capitalism and the creation of surplus value, which was not distributed among workers. So industrial revolution has generated lots of surplus. Okay, now surplus is not distributed equally among the workers. It is taken by capitalist. Okay, there was mass production instead of production by masses. So in industrial revolution, when masses have been replaced by machines, okay, so there was mass production. The focus was on mass production somehow, not production by masses. Okay, capitalism leads to alienation. Okay, capitalism leads to alienation. Labor is exploited and becomes a commodity to be sold and purchased. Okay, so capitalism leads to alienation. Okay, because in capitalism, man is reduced into cog in the wheel. Okay, and labor is exploited and it becomes commodity to be sold and purchased. The rationale behind capitalism is profit. Okay, so capitalism is driven by the idea of profit. The cost of production is reduced by reducing wages and increasing workers' hardships. Okay, so the main rationale behind capitalism is profit, and in order to extract maximum profit, the cost of production has to be introduced. So how it will be reduced? It will be reduced through reducing wages and increasing workers' hardship. Okay, so you have to reduce the wages, and in one hand, and on the other hand, you have to force workers to work more and more. That is what it means. Okay, the workers are displaced and replaced by machines. Okay, what I was telling earlier, that masses, here, that is mass production of how? Through machines. Okay, so workers are replaced and displaced by machines. Okay, according to Marx, the history of all hitherto societies of the history of all hitherto existing societies is the history of class struggle. Okay, Marx believes that it is the dialectical movement in the matter that forms the history, and not the dialectical movement of ideas as proposed by Hegel. So Hegel has given the concept of dialectical Hegel has given the concept of dialectical idealism, and Marx has given the concept of dialectical materialism. Okay, so here, through this statement, Marx want to say that it is not the dialectical movement of ideas as propagated by Hegel, rather it is the dialectical movement of matter. Marx called his analysis of history as scientific. His theory denotes change in the means of production, the mode of production, and the relation and forces of production. So history denotes change in means of production, modes of production, and relation and forces of production. Marx provides different stages of history, that is the primitive communism, slave society, feudal society, capitalism. Okay, so primitive communism, okay, slave society, feudal society, and capitalism. He predicts dictatorship of proletariat, finally communist state. Okay, so the dictatorship of proletariat will ultimately result into what? Communist state. Communism, according to Marx, will come by peaceful means. Okay, so according to Marx, it will come by peaceful means. State will wither away for Marx, while in contrast for Hegel, human history ends with the formation of state, and he considers state as the march of God on earth. Okay, so for Marx, state will either wither away. However, what Hegel was saying that human history will end or ends up with the formation of state, as he said that march of state is march of God on earth. However, Karl Popper, in his Open Societies and Enemies, calls Marxism and Marx and Hegel enemies of open society, and criticizes Marx for guilt of historicism. Gramsci rescues Marxism from economic determinism. Okay, so Karl Popper, in his book, that is the Open Society and his enemy, calls Marx and Hegel the enemies of open societies, and criticizes Marx for guilt of historicism. Okay, it is true that most of the Marxist predictions remain utopia. However, we cannot deny the fact that Marx remained the most relevant thinker of the West till the time world is witnessing acute inequality. Marxist idea will keep on appealing. Okay, here you can also mention a book, that is Capital in 21st Century, written by Thomas Piketty. Capital in 21st Century. Okay, so Piketty, he said that there are increase in inequality, interstate and intrastate inequality. So long inequality exists, the Marxist ideas are going to be relevant. Okay, Seventh question, second last question. The only freedom which deserves the name is that of pursuing our own good in our own way. J.S. Mill. Okay. The only freedom which deserves the name is that of pursuing our own good in our own way. Comment. Okay. So what would be comment? Mill's importance lies in his rich contribution to liberalism by his memorable defense of freedom of speech and speech and individuality, and in his defense of a liberal society as a necessary precondition for a liberal state. Liberal society, a necessary precondition for a liberal state. Okay. It is said that if there is anyone who is liberal, it is Mill. Okay. It is most important statement. You have to remember it. No other philosopher before Mill has dealt with the issue of liberty in an exhaustive manner. Okay. So the issue of liberty has been dealt by Mill in a very exhaustive manner, and no liberal philosopher has done this before. Although Locke has tried to do, but in that kind of depthness was not there. Okay, has brought liberty at the center stage of liberalism. So Mill has brought liberty at the center of liberalism. In his book on liberty, he has given the extensive idea of liberty. Even after Mill, no major work in such depth is found on liberty. Even after Mill, okay, before Mill also and after Mill also, no major work is in such depth is found on liberty. According to Mill, the only freedom which deserves the name is that of pursuing our own good in our own way, so long as we do not attempt to deprive others of theirs or impede their efforts to obtain it. Okay, so what Mill is saying? Mill is saying that the only freedom which deserves the name is that of pursuing our own good in our own way. So we should be free. That is, it is the concept of negative liberty. That is, we should be free to pursue our own good with our own passions, desires, and in our own way. It should not be dictated by state. State only will remain kind of nice wortman state. Okay, it is not going to interfere or intervene in the personal affairs. Okay, and till the to the extent that it does not deprive others or impedes their efforts to obtain it. Okay, so it also Mill also restricting that it should not your liberty should not go to the extent that it starts affecting others' liberty. Okay, so each is the proper guardian of his own health, whether bodily or mental or spiritual. Okay, each is proper guardian of his own wealth, whether bodily or mental or spiritual. What Mill says, over his mind and his body, the man is sovereign. Mankind are greater gainers by suffering each other to live as seems good to themselves than by compelling each other to live as seems good to the rest. Okay, mankind are greater gainer by suffering each other to live as seems good to themselves than by compelling each to live as seems good to the rest. However, Mill is suggesting maximum liberty, not absolute liberty. It has to be kept in mind. Thereby, he introduced the concept of harm principle. To ensure this, he gives his harm principle. He categorizes human action into two types, that is self-regarding action and other-regarding action. According to him, there should be no interference by state in self-regarding action. So state should not be intervening in the self-regarding action. However, state can interfere, or state should interfere only when one's action can harm others. Okay, till to the extent it is harming others, it is seen as a major inconsistency in Mill. Okay, on one hand he aspires for liberty, but on the other hand he necessitates state intervention. Okay, how means how he, on one hand he is saying that state should not interfere in the self-regarding action. However, he allows state to interfere in other regarding action. So that is what is there is contradiction, major inconsistency in Mill's. On one hand, he aspires for liberty, but on the other hand, he necessitates state intervention. That is why Walker said, what Walker says, Mill as a prophet of empty liberty. Okay. Mill is unique in the sense that he is known as champion of liberty. Okay, he is known as champion of liberty as well as prophet of empty liberty. Prophet of empty liberty. This inconsistency is attributed to the times to which Mill belonged. Okay, so this inconsistency is attributed to the times to which Mill belonged. Okay, it is not the fault of Mill, but the time of which he is belonging. Okay, he stood at the crossroads of classical and modern liberalism. Okay, so when Mill was propagating these ideas, he was at the crossroad of classical and modern liberalism. It is important to note that even the Indian Constitution provision under Article 19, that is the right to freedom, is greatly influenced by Mill's principle of liberty. So we can conclude by saying this. Okay, Mill was, last question, Mill was a champion of democracy who failed to bring the idea of democracy to its logical conclusion, critically examined. Okay, so Mill was champion of democracy. Okay, he was champion of democracy. He is the one who has advocates for constitutionalism. Okay, liberalism. So he is the champion of democracy, but he failed to bring a idea of democracy to its logical conclusion. Why? Because he is called as a reluctant democrat, because he has introduced aristocratic principle in the democracy. Voting, there has to be dual voting. Okay, so these kind of only voting those who have property. So these kind of ideas which have been introduced by Mill give him title reluctant democrat. Okay, so Mill's theory of democracy is found in his book Representative Government. Okay, finally I am able to pronounce it. In this book, he has established democracy as the best form of government. Mill began his representative government by stating that we can only decide what is best form of government by examining which form of government fulfill most adequately the purpose of government. Okay, so we can only decide which form of government is best government only by examining that which form of government fulfills most adequately the purpose of government. Okay, for Mill, the point of having a good for Mill, having a point of having a government was that it performs two main functions. What kind of function? It must use the existing qualities and skill of the citizens to best serve their interest. Okay, so what kind of function government is performing? Government is using the existing qualities and skill of citizens to best serve their interest. Okay, and the second is it must improve the moral and intellectual active qualities of these citizens. Okay, so first of all, state has to use the existing quality and skill of citizen to best serve their interest, and secondly, it must improve. There is also a case for improvement the moral, intellectual, and active qualities of these citizens. Okay, a despotic government may be able to fulfill the first purpose but will fail in the second. Okay, the government which is based on despotism can fulfill the first prerequisite, but it will be failing to fulfill the second. Okay, only a representative government can fulfill these two functions. Because why representative government can fulfill? Because it is based on consent, it is based on our own will. The government is elected by us, that is why it can fulfill both the objective. According to J.S. Mill, democracy is the best form of government. Okay, as it is the best system to actualize freedom and speech and expression, freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so democracy is the best form of government because it is the best form It is because it's the best system to actualize freedom of speech and expression. It is in the democracy that we can actualize freedom of speech and expression. In no other form of government we can have freedom of speech and expression. Okay. However, according to Mill, in modern society, the next best alternative is the representative government. Okay. Why is representative government is alternative? Because to see the complexities of modern society, that the idea of Rousseau, that is direct democracy, cannot be implemented, because complexity, like huge population is there. Now huge population is there, you cannot have direct democracy, you cannot have consensus. Okay, so that is why representative democracy is best alternative. Though Mill considered democracy as the best form of government, yet he is called as a reluctant Democrat by C.L. Weber. So C.L. Weber, what he says? He says that he is a reluctant Democrat. Why? Though when he considers democracy as the best form of government, why is called reluctant Democrat? That is to be learned. That is, Mill as reluctant Democrat because he does not favor introduction of democracy in colonies, even in Western countries. Okay, so he does not favor introduction of democracy in colonies. Even in Western countries, he believes that the future of democracy is not safe. What he believes? He believes that even in Western countries, future of democracy is not safe. Why? According to Mill, democracy is not a free gift to be distributed. It is not free gift to be distributed among Gauls, among barbarians, like those living in third world. Okay, those have fought for democracy, they have earned democracy after years of struggle. Democracy should not be introduced in those societies which lack democratic culture. So in Britain, there is a phase of democratization. Okay, Magna Carta, which was signed in 12th century. Okay, till from there till age of Mill, there has been democratization. There has been constant ups and downs, and there has been brainstorming. There has been various process through which the democratic culture has evolved over a period of time in Britain. Okay, so that is not a free gift. Okay, it is not a free gift. It has been fought. There has been various struggle. Okay, that is why he is reluctant to introduce democracy in colonies. It means people should have adopted democracy as a way of life. In Western countries or in Britain, people have adopted democracy as a way of life. J.S. Mill also suggests weighted voting. What I was telling. Plural voting, strengthening the power of House of Lords, proportional representation, enfranchisement of women. Okay, so enfranchisement of women. That is what weighted voting, plural voting, strengthening the power of House of Lords, proportional representation, and enfranchisement of women is somewhat aristocratic kind of things. Since democratic culture is absent in colonies, Mill does not favor the introduction of democracy. Instead of democracy, Mill favored benevolent despotism. Okay, so instead of democracy, what Mill favors? Benevolent despotism. It means no self-rule for people in colonies, rather they should be ruled by the crown. However, it is important to rule in the interest of people in the colonies. Okay, so people in the colonies should not be given self-rule. They have to be ruled by the crown. However, king should have, it is the duty of the king to rule in the interest of the people, not in his interest. However, crown has ruled for his interest, not people's interest. That is the irony. Benevolent despotism. The biggest flaw of Mill is that he takes democracy as an end in itself, whereas Indian leaders saw democracy as means to an end. Okay, so Mill sees democracy as an end in itself. However, Indian leaders saw democracy as means to an end. How? End of democracy is empowerment of the people. Okay, so democracy is a means through which empowerment of the people is attained. What is the ideal form of democracy? The democracy entails the idea of empowerment of bigger section of society, giving power to powerless. Okay, that is what the idea of democracy. So end of democracy is empowerment of the people means principle should be seen in sharp contrast with Gandhian and Nehruvian approach to democracy. Okay, how they talked about strengthening the grassroots democracy to the Panchayati Raj and bringing democracy to the doorstep of every Indian household. Okay, so what Nehru said, if people cannot come to democracy, democracy should go to the people. Okay, that is what Nehruvian approach is what all about. And Gandhi talked about Panchayati Raj. Okay, so grassroots democracy through Panchayati Raj. That is what both have talked about. But if we take the case of large number of third world countries where democracy was introduced, the experiment proved to be a failure, and this shows yes, Mill was right. Okay, so in third world countries, the experiment of democracy has proved to be failure. Okay, there is no apart from India, in third world countries there is no functional democracy. So the experiment is failed. Okay, so it is said that Mill was right. The concern of Mill is understandable with respect to his reverence for democracy. So Mill has Mill sees democracy with great respect. Okay, so his concern cannot be avoided. Okay, and till now also we can see that in India is only a procedural democracy. It has to emerge a substantive democracy. Though there are people have got independence, we have everything, but substantive democracy is yet to realize in India. That is what the idea of Mills. So for today, this is what I have now. Thank you for discussion. Thank you very much.